Yeah, I want to like give it a shout out to the guys that put this together, Alex mostly. I'm like, great event. It's great to see a community of customer success folks. I think the last time I did this was online, and I saw a few faces from the videos online that I remember. So having the people in the room, it's awesome. It's great to be here. I work for a late stage startup known as Microsoft. I suppose we go buy companies. I didn't even know about the last one there, so it's good to know that we do that quite a bit. A little unknown fact, I didn't know this till I joined Microsoft, that Microsoft actually owns LinkedIn. Did you know that? Yeah? Like we don't go around talking about it, but there you go. Like one of the big things that, wow, okay, that's awesome. So let's move to the next. I stand between you and lunch. I get that, so I'll keep it to point. I won't go too deep on tangents. I do have a habit of doing that. I think it's a genetic cultural thing. I speak fast when I get nervous, so that might happen. But I guess a little bit of introduction, right? So I work at Microsoft, and if you know Microsoft, it's a big product company. And surprisingly, to me, I got recruited to create the customer success organization there about 5 years ago, and that's when they really thought about it. Until that point, they didn't even have customer success in the context that we're still learning, and it's not quite there. So I focus on the Azure public cloud side of the fence, which is a consumption organization. It's all about keeping the meter running. Some of the facts that you guys talked about, the other speakers that talked about like renewals and all that, really don't fall in that focus. But one of the things that falls in my focus is how do I keep the customer doing more of what they're doing with my public cloud products. It's Azure, which is public cloud. If you're familiar with Google Cloud or AWS, we compete with them. If you think of Salesforce, we have Microsoft Dynamics, we compete with them. If you're a Google email, Gmail, we have Microsoft Office, which is 365, Outlook and all that. So we have a lot of products that requires that customer success. And one of the things, I got recruited from a professional strategy consulting firm, and when I got recruited by the person that created the Microsoft Customer Success Organization, I said, why me? I'm like, I was aiming for like the PwCs and Accentures, and when I got recruited, I was like, why me? I was like, we need to run an organization where you think like a strategist, you deliver like a consultant, and you implement like an engineer. Without the scope of work, without the binding agreements of leave behind the deliverables. That's the way they put it together. It's like we need that organization because that's how we're going to keep people using our products and be successful in that way. And so that made sense to me, and that's when I started taking over the Azure business for my territory and managing the CSMs that work under me. It was very easy to figure that out. And so I had this thought leadership in my mind. It's like, how do I take that on the road, because Microsoft is a product company, and you're not consulting, but you have to kind of act like that. And so that's one of the things that the topic I want to share is storytelling and asking the right questions, moving from the why and what's not working. So I'll do the story style, so I do a lot of stories. I try not to put too much on the deck. You'll notice my decks are very simple and white. A lesson I learned from a coach of mine is like keep it, don't put too much graphics, keep it easy. It's people won't pay attention to it much if you have a good story to tell. So I'm going to talk about the Lego plate. This piece of Lego is called a Lego plate. If you have played with Legos, it's a normal piece to have. So I have 3 kids. My oldest is 10 years old. When he was about 7, he wrote a letter to Santa and asked for this really elaborate Lego set. It was a fire station, 3 buildings, a couple of trucks, a whole bunch of Lego people. And I think he still believes in Santa, but at that time he really did. So he was really writing this amazing letter to Santa Claus about asking for this. Well, the task fell on me to go get it. It was out of production, so I had to go to eBay, spend more than I should have to get that. And I was quite elated that, hey, he wrote a letter to Santa and I got him that thing. It's awesome. So he got it, spent like Christmas Day building it. He did it all by himself. He was very proud because he was at that stage where he used to look at the numbers in the Lego blocks, like 5 plus, 7 plus, 16 plus, and he was very proud that he was doing something that was above his age category. So he felt very good about it. And he played with it all the time, and he was very careful with it. He didn't mess around with the original setup of it. And I felt like, look, you're a kid, you got to take it apart and do stuff. And one day while he was moving it from one place to another, it fell apart, and I said, don't worry about it. His name's Adam, so he said, don't worry about it, put it together, whatever way you want. And this was the same time in his life he was doing iPads. And if you have any young kids, there's this thing called YouTubing. You just like watch YouTube, other people playing. I'm like, it's just pretty lame. Like, that's all they do. Just look at other people playing with their toys instead of the toy that's right at your feet and play with your stuff. You're just looking at other people. So he was doing a lot of that. And so he started looking at these videos and creating these different buildings with the same set of Legos. And he was getting very creative, amazing things, he was doing amazing things. And after a while, I noticed he wasn't playing with it anymore. And his room was a mess. I used to clean it up. I used to put all the Legos in a bucket. And one day while I was doing this, I noticed this. One of the pieces, I actually have the piece with me here. He had cracked, and this is one of 3 pieces that he had cracked, broken into half. If you play with Legos, this is a very monumental task. You can't do this. Like, because it's made of plastic that bends, it just bends. It doesn't really break after a while. So you have to do a lot of work to make it break. So I got angry. I'm like, I spent a lot of money. I'm like, he doesn't know Santa Claus doesn't give this for free. So I'm like, okay, this is not good. So I called him over. He's my oldest, so he gets a little bit of the parenting harshness. The other 2 that came after, just, okay, well, they just do whatever they want. I don't care anymore. But with him, it was a little bit harsh. So I was very angry. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, Adam, let me just come back here. So what happened? Why'd you do this? So I said, why? Why did you do this? And he does this thing where he's cornered. He'll say, I don't remember. And then if you press it again, because I forgot. And that annoyed me. It's like, okay, you forgot, you don't remember, this is not good. So I took his iPad, he got grounded without the iPad. I was like, no, you're not going to have that. And it festered on me. I'm like, okay, this is messed up. What the hell? Like, I gave him this toy, he plays with it long, then he breaks it and then hides it because he doesn't want to play with it because he knows that I'll be inspecting. I was like, okay, there's sheer determination to make this happen. After a while, I calmed down and I said, okay, let me try to figure this out. So I again asked him why, and he goes, I forget, I don't remember, and he was shifty and trying to distract me with other things. And so I let it go for a while. And then finally came to me one day when I was getting ready for school. And I pulled these pieces. I was like, Adam, what was not working? What was it? And you could see this glint in his eye. He like totally changed his demeanor. And he then goes into this thing. He says, hey, when I was watching YouTube, there's this kid that was building this toy where the Legos went sideways instead of going up. Well, if you know Legos, there's a piece that goes sideways. You put it inside, it's kind of like this, almost like that, it goes. Well, he didn't have that piece, and he wanted to make that building. And so he said, well, I don't have the piece. Legos work, so I'm going to try it. So he tries to bend it, and bam, snaps, right? And he had 2 other pieces, and he did the same thing because he was trying to do that. He was determined to have a Lego piece that went sideways because he wanted to do what he saw in the YouTube video. It's like, I want that. And that's when it dawned on me, and if you pause instead of asking the why, because we do that. We're like, oh, why do you want that? One of the things I notice in my customers, they get defensive. First of all, if you're Microsoft and you go to somebody and say, why? They're like, what's this young punk think that he has the right to ask why? They get very annoyed, right? They get a defensive posture. Especially if you ask somebody that may be in their domain. Like, I live in Houston, Texas. It's oil and gas country. I know nothing about oil and gas. Nothing. So if I went to a petroleum engineer and told him why about something with technology, they'll just, like, who the hell are you? I'm like, you just walked in here last week. I'm like, what do you need, what was? They go into defensive posture. But if you ask them what's not working, what you realize is they'll tell you what they think is the problem that they're trying to solve. So 90% of your work is already done. They already gave you some clues of what they think needs to be done, especially in industries that are very specific. And so you start listening to those clues. So I'm going to give some examples of where I've seen this happen, right? And these are 2 real examples. Meaning a customer, and because I come from a consulting background, I'm having this conversation about, hey, let's meet up this guy that's in this business. And he goes right into his explanation, like, hi, we're looking for this data lake. If you know what a data lake is, it's a big repository of all the different pieces of data you can put in the cloud or on-premise on a SQL Server type thing. They want to do this because they want to put all the data in one place. They want to run a Spark engine. That's an analytics tool. We like do a lot of insights and analysis on it. They want to get it real time because they're not really there. It's going to be a big change for them. This is going to like define their existence, and they're going to differentiate they're asking this, like, I'm a technologist. I'm saying, ching, you want data lake? I got Azure Data Lake. You know, it runs like $5,000 a month. That's good money, you know, keeping the meter running. I could make this happen in a flash, all of these things. But I wanted to pause there, and I said, okay, look, I could like get my consultants, I could get the engineers, I could get the customer success managers. We can like make this happen right now. And we do this every day, so we are very good at it. But I paused and I asked, what was not working? And that was his answer. He kind of hunkered down. He just like, you know, you could see the exasperation. It's like, you know what, my CFO's not happy. I get yelled at all the time because the data's no good, missing targets, the logistic information is off, it's, you know, pandemic time. We're not getting stuff done. That's the real what's not working. He doesn't need a data lake. He doesn't even know probably what a data lake is. But he's thinking about these, right? But the biggest problem is the CFO is upset because the reporting is not working. And that's when my customer success managers come in. I also have a team of architects because we kind of do the implementation part like POCs. And they could fix this very easily within a lot of the products we sell and make a lot of money. But one of the biggest problems when we did this conversation happen was they didn't have good data. I'm like, I could have given them a data lake. I could have made a lot of money on that. I could have given them Power BI for fancy dashboards and charts. But their data sucked. So no matter how much money I would have made them spend on that, the CFO would still be upset because the data was not going to give them the insights they wanted. So the tools and the process, all that didn't matter. So a lot of the earlier speakers were talking about this, where if you're not paying attention to that, you're like the hotel room example the gentleman used. Like it's the onboarding, it's the reception. They're not going to come back to you again. And that's how we lose business on Microsoft to AWS and Google, because we didn't listen. We didn't hear what their real pain point was. And so this was the way I solved it. It's like, okay, look, your CFO's upset. And let's think about the things the CFO gets upset about. Well, the CFO doesn't use a laptop, has an assistant, so that all the data he's looking at is on his mobile phone. So one of the things I'm thinking, all right, I need to create a mobile phone app. So that's something I will do. And he didn't even ask for that in his narrative. He didn't say I need a mobile phone app, but I'm realizing that he needs that. The CFO is always doing fun stuff in his luxurious life, so he doesn't need VPN. He doesn't have time to log into VPN, so we had to build internet first app that would be without VPN. So it's that security identity. You have to figure out all these things. Again, the narrative never had that. So now I'm figuring out other things that Microsoft sells that I can add to it. We do security, we do identity, we do data, we do devices, and then we write apps for Androids and iPhones. So we getting these other things that I can make success for the customer based on that narrative, understanding how that use case was going to be. So that came from my consulting background, and that was very useful in it. This happened before Microsoft, and so similar thing. A gentleman I was talking to, and he says, hey, look, we're going to go cloud first. We're good at this. We want to differentiate. We're going to be part of a growth strategy. It's a reorganization. I think this will put us in front. What can you do? Talk about cloud. I was a consultant at that time, so I was like, hey, you know, with many different flavors, we could go many different ways. This is awesome. You're at the beginning of the journey. This is great. You know, this was a startup, and so we thought this is great. I'm like, this is very rare that somebody wants to start with a cloud journey first. I did not ask this person what was not working. We took him to the cloud. It was awesome. All the latest, greatest awesomeness that could be. It was so good that it was a case for success in technology. We gave it to the customer. A few weeks later, the customer was very annoyed, very angry. It's like, this is not what I thought the cloud was going to do for me. So I missed the question that I should have asked. What was not working? What do you want to do? Turns out this guy was an exit strategist. He wanted out. He wanted a good valuation for his company, and he had some legacy on-prem solutions that he wanted out because he wanted to look good on paper, because when the CDC, IPO people are going to come around, when the people that were going to do that analysis needed to look at a good valuation, you need to know if they're the right people. I didn't ask those things. I could have taken what they had on-prem, optimized it, taught their people new skills, could have gotten them the tools they needed to look good on paper, also have good efficiency, support organizations, training organizations, knowledge bases. I didn't get any of that because I never asked what was not working. His costs went up. I mean, anybody that goes to the cloud, if you are familiar, you have an uptick. It doesn't go down right away. It goes up. little bit then starts going down. After you've optimized, you've turned all the systems off and gotten rid of the legacy stuff. Well, he didn't have the chance, so his costs went up and his P&L was off. And so when the people came to evaluate his company, they were like, well, this cloud stuff seems like you're upside down. I'm like, why would I want to buy you? Or the valuation didn't work. He got very angry because he couldn't get the IP he wanted. He was one of the founders of the company. And that's one of the things I miss. So you always have to change from the why to what's not working, because you get that insight that's very key for almost every customer success manager to understand. So when I was originally recruited, that whole idea of thinking like a strategist, delivering like a consultant, and implementing like an engineer, that's not necessary for everybody, but if you are on a consumer-focused organization where you can just download it and implement it, turn it over, one less conversation gives you that ability. So if your customer success manager can do that, understand the strategy, consult on how to put the moving pieces, APIs or whatnot, and implement it in a very easy fashion, you have delivered the outcome they need right there and then versus many calls. It's complex when you have different products. Some products take a lot of people. So like my organization takes like 5 people to get a cloud conversation happening, to get the meter running. And so that's one of the things I've learned is you have to always move from the why to what's not working. And it doesn't have to be what's not working. It's like, why do you want to do this? And it's sometimes counterproductive when you're in a very widget-based conversation, like Microsoft makes money on product. So if I'm going to screw myself out of a deal, it's counterintuitive. But sometimes you actually have to do that. That empathy that we talked about, that's important. Like one of the things that the new version of Microsoft in the last 6-7 years, Satya Nadella, who's the CEO, he said, look, it's okay to not have the answer for everything. And if you're honest about it, it's good. And then you see the arrogance of what Microsoft used to be known for like 20 years ago. That arrogance has kind of dissipated a little bit. We're not recognized for being the know-it-all. We're trying to learn it all. And so we don't have the answers for everything. And so that empathy in the beginning will connect at a very foundational level, and then you have their interests. And that's one of the things I learned from my consulting, is if you focus on the person, not the company, not on the product, the person, their success matters. And so having that obsession of their success, if it's a CFO, maybe they want a promotion. So they want to do some things about their products, and they want to invest something in the context of tools or processes and changes. If you're doing mergers and acquisitions, you may need tools or processes that will cost you money, but you need it because you're going to bring people in from different companies, you have to integrate. So you're asking those right questions always makes a difference. So what does that mean in my world? I'm outcome oriented. That is my success. It's almost an obsession, but I need to know what the outcome you want really brings you to bear. And if you focus on that outcome, if you focus on how is that the success that I need to understand, it helps. So I focus on the customer's need. And it's counterintuitive. Like, I work for Microsoft, I need to make money for them. So I have an outcome. I have a success criteria. I have a P&L to get paid on it. But focus on the customer's outcome. If you can connect the dot to your own, that's where success really comes. And that's what almost by like tag you want to have is like, I need to know what your success is. From the people to the company to retail, everybody has an outcome. If you don't want people to abandon your website, like you could be a portal-based organization. Well, there's tools that will tell you if people are abandoning your website at a certain point or a certain time, or something clicks later. So that might be an outcome. It's like, I don't want people to abandon my website. Maybe it's too complex, maybe it's too colorful, maybe it's got too many buttons, maybe you need to change that. That's an outcome. You may not make a lot of money if you're a web developer in the way of success, but you can actually think about it from that perspective. So there's always an outcome. In my job, I live it. Success is my mantra. I have to live it. Like if you look at my LinkedIn, I put my LinkedIn there. It's one of the things I have right in my headline. Customer success is my success. That's the way I live it. You have to be it. And then when you do recruiting for customer success managers, which I do a lot of, I'm like a lot of people, our people manager here, you have to know the breed of who a customer success can be. It's not something you learn. It's not an education. You have to have that ability to feel it, know it, have that obsession. Now, obsession is a slippery slope. People will be obsessed to the point of being stalkerish. Not good, you know. It's a negative context. You can't call them every day and ask for what's going on, what's not. You have to have a balance. But obsession is the key word. You have to have a balance to be able to talk about it. changing the focus of the narrative of what's not working, putting a not in there, the negative. When we live in a culture of internets, right? If you have an itch, you go to webmd.com and look it up, and they say you have a rare disease and you freak out. But people are doing that already. So a lot of the buyers of technology already do that research. So instead of spending a lot of time pitching your deck, you may realize they already made a decision. They want your product. So don't undo a sale that's already done. So a lot of sellers do that. I have a lot of AEs that I work with. They're like, dude, stop selling. Stop talking. The customer's already decided. They're now negotiating deals, discounts, structure of the contract. Don't try to sell them anymore. So sometimes having that conversation right up front could save you presentation. If you're wining and dining, go have dinner, lunch, golf, whatever you want to do. That's one of the things that our customer success managers do very well. They learn the person. They understand the culture of the person they're talking to, and they're connecting. Humility and empathy are two things I do, and it's okay. Not knowing is okay. In the world of Microsoft, a lot of people won't agree, but in the world of Microsoft, managers are considered dumb. The real people are the engineers, the people that are inventing stuff, right? So it's okay to have no answer sometimes. Just because I'm a manager of a team of 40 doesn't mean that I have to have better qualities and skills than my CSMs or my customer engineers. It's okay to have humility and say, I don't know. You'll be surprised how many people would be happy with that. Just don't do what Adam does. Don't say, I forgot, I don't remember. That doesn't work very well when you're trying to negotiate a conversation about what you don't know. Revisit and check in and play the conversation over and over again, because you will remember things that you heard, but you don't remember it at the time you're hearing it. So replaying that always helps. Taking a pause helps. Now, we live in a very aggressive, I gotta do this now, I'm gonna lose the deal. Yeah, we get that. But that's what the AE is for, right? They're making the relationship so that they don't rush to judgment right away. If you have a good selling organization, that's why I was talking to some peers that customer success managers are not the sellers. If you want to have relationships and build that and build that CRM and pipeline and forecast, there's usually a role of an AE in there. Now, sometimes you don't need that. If you're a direct-to-consumer type business, you may not even have that. But guess what? The AE is now the customer success manager. It's the other way around. It's not that you have to be the seller. The seller becomes like a CSM in that case. And so it's important to revisit over and over again, because if you don't, you lose critical facts on that. I'll share one more story, and this I don't have it on deck. This happened I used to live in Boston, and if you know Northeast, there's this time of the year they have this storm that comes around called Northeaster. They're calling it cyclone bombs now, and it's not a good time. So the houses are made to have roofing of a certain kind if you live in Boston or the New England area, because it has to withstand wind. It's different than, I live in Texas, which is Hurricane Alley. Different roofing, completely different than the ones up in Boston, New England. I had an older house, got a contract for a roofer to come rip it up, replace it, got all the deals figured out. The guys came over. The transient migrant workforce in Boston tends to be from Brazil, so they're Portuguese speakers, don't understand what they're saying most of the time. So they came in, they're starting working on it. I was happy. It was in the summertime because the storm season's coming. And one day I was out just trying to figure out what they're doing, make sure they're doing the right work. I see a white van pull up, and a guy gets up, puts a hard hat, takes his ladder down, puts it against the building. And I'm thinking, oh crap, these guys did not get the permits, because that looks like the city guy that comes around and makes sure that you're not doing something illegal without a permit. And I lived in a very conservative town where even litter got ticketed, right? So you couldn't get away with stuff like this. I'm like, oh man, I should have asked these guys if they had a permit for the roof, tearing down the roof and throwing crap all over the place. I'm like, that's what the guy is here for. He's gonna go in there and he's gonna say, you guys don't have a permit, and I'm gonna get a ticket from the city, and it's gonna be no good. But the guy goes up, he has an iPad, pulls out the iPad, is taking pictures, and I'm like, oh man, this is not looking good. And then he comes down, he smiles at me. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna get stiffed. I'm gonna get a big ticket now. But it turns out this guy came from the shingle maker. And for me to get a warranty on my roof that could withstand the nor'easter, the manufacturer has to come and inspect the installation, which is being done by contractors that had nothing to do with selling the shingles. That was their customer success. Like, I need to come over here and make sure they're putting down the glue and the paper and the shingles down right, so that I can guarantee me, the customer, a warranted roof that when I sell my house goes with it, and it's guaranteed for the nor'easter. And that made me think about, it's like, sometimes your customer success is not about going directly to the consumer. You have to go through a partner, so that's a big deal sometimes. If you could be white labeling other people's products, especially if you're doing APIs and you're building products that are taking advantage of other people's products. Like if you have like a website that has a checkout cart, there's a good chance the person that built you that website did not build the checkout cart application. It may come from Amazon, for you know. That's what a lot of these e-commerce retailers are doing. Or the payment product comes from somebody else. So sometimes you have to have the customer success engineers or customer success managers start thinking that was like, my product might be somewhere else. And if I don't go inspect it through a partner or through an implementer or a consultant organization, you may be leaving behind valuable information that you need to bring back, because this person was bringing back information to their engineering to say, hey, look, maybe we should be making the shingles this way, or the glue, or the nails. So that feedback loop in Microsoft, it's a very important part. Like, you know, look, Microsoft products are not the best. Everybody knows that. But if you don't give back the feedback to the engineers, the customer success manager's key responsibility is that. Like, I got to take back to the people that think they created the best thing. It's not really the best thing. Like, you know, that button doesn't look as good as you think it does. So that people don't realize. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, and we were talking about LinkedIn. LinkedIn has this feature where you can take a picture of your barcode, you know that, to connect. Well, if you didn't pay attention to it, it got moved. And I was like, okay, this is bullcrap. I look embarrassed. I'm like trying to connect with somebody. I'm like, where did it go? Well, they moved it to somewhere easier, but they forgot to tell people that they moved it someplace easier, right? You almost have to search for it. So sometimes that feedback loop back to the engineering group about some of your products is important, and that's where the CSM comes very handy. They're not going to fix it. They're not the project manager. They're not going to go build it for you. They're like, I'll take that feedback, and I'll give them constructive feedback. And sometimes if you have a backlog system, DevOps and all that, sometimes they get on the backlog, they'll fix it, sometimes they'll never. So you go back to the customer, it's like, yeah, we're never going to fix that. There's some integrations Microsoft will never do for customers. I'm like, I'm sorry. That's why we have partners, and we have other vendors to go do that. We have consulting companies that can build it for you. And that's the way you kind of prioritize quality, efficiency, and capability. I think that's the last of it. Questions? I think I have 3 minutes to clock here. I'll take any questions you guys have. Lunch is going to be out, so hopefully it'll be as good as yesterday's. It'll be awesome.
Quick round of applause. We have so much to talk about. I said we have so much to talk about.
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah. He comes from a competition. So
We're frenemies.
Frenemies.